Why take FPL advice from one expert when you can take advice from 100 of them? Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan, and our experts aren't just going to be helping us out with transfer moves this week, but also a big decision needs to be made about captaincy and moving that assistant manager in Gameweek 26. Okay guys, so once again, a massive shout out and thank you to all of the wonderful FPL experts who have helped us out with their data this week. Big up to all of them because, like I say, we've got plenty of data today. Particularly, we want to look at captains and assistant managers this week, which is a huge topic. And I think looking at these expert trends is really going to be able to help us out with making our own decisions. To give an overview of this week, 68% of our experts are using one transfer this week, which is by far the most popular thing to do. Not too many of our experts have transfers in hand right now, having spent a lot of them on the last two double game weeks. But now, maybe with one transfer ready to use, they most likely are going to use it. Of course, there are a few experts taking hits this week, with 15% making 2 transfers and 2% making 3 or more transfers, but nobody is on the wild card yet. We'll see that come into play around game week 30 or later, and 15% making no transfer. So if you are able to roll a transfer this game week, then you're probably in a pretty fortunate position because very few of our experts will be rolling that transfer in game week 26. So let's have a look through the top global picks. Who are the most popular players in the world of FPL? Who are the overall player base bringing in? And it's all about the Egyptian prince this week with Omar Marmoush, with over 300,000 transfers in already at time of recording on Wednesday. So that is pretty huge. But do our experts agree? Well, I have to say our experts aren't as big of a fan of Marmoush as maybe the overall player base are. There is some interest, but not as much as these numbers kind of suggest. Cliver, Mitoma, Nwaneri and Cunha are also popular in the overall player base. And Cunha and Dango here as well as Cliver, our experts really like these picks. But if we look further down the list, there's a few players here that actually our experts aren't too interested in. No new transfers in for the likes of Chris Wood, for example, and not really interest in Kaoru Mitoma, Mateta or Beto this week either, with a little bit of interest on Mbermo. So actually, looking through this list, whilst there are some players that our experts agree are very good picks, there's also a few players in here that there's not really any change on. So maybe these are players to avoid, maybe these players are traps, and maybe there are opportunities elsewhere. I have to say, the most popular players to bring in for FPL this week among experts, not all of them feature on this list, so there might be a few surprises. So let's look at the transfer trends for moving those players out. Who should we be removing from our FPL teams right now? Well, if you have any of these players, particularly those towards the top, it might be time for a transfer move for you. So Arne Slot is at the top of this list. 35 transfers out for him this week, and we are going to go into greater detail about assistant managers and what you should do with them based on our expert data right at the end of the video. So do stay tuned for that. But first of all, it has to be said that the vast majority of Arne Slot's owners among these top managers are looking to sell him, move him on to a different manager in game week 26. Man City is the fixture away from home for Liverpool, which is going to be kind of tough given that Man City are picking up some kind of form at the moment. The second and third most popular transfers out are the injured Ahmad and Gakpo. Ahmad is out for the season, so it makes a lot of sense to remove him. In fact, most of the Ahmad owners will be removing him in this game week. Gakpo, slightly different situation. His injury isn't as severe, and as such, not all of our experts will be removing him. Only some. 14 out of the 42 Gakpo owners will be looking to sell him, which means the majority of Gakpo owners will actually be looking to keep him ahead of game week 26. Maybe hoping that he can be back in time for 26, and if not, 27 or 28 against Southampton could be a really nice fixture for Gakpo if you can afford to leave him on your bench. Rodgers and Emery, the Aston Villa duo, are also seeing some negative trends here. Rodgers super unlucky in game week 25 with 2 of his shots cleared off the line pretty much, but the majority of Rodgers owners will be keeping him, and I wanted to just point that out. Even though 13 of our experts are selling Rodgers this week, he was owned by 78 experts last game week, so it's really only a very small amount who are choosing to sell him, but it still is an option if there is is another midfielder you quite like the look of. Emery is in here as a manager being sold, but interestingly, despite being owned by 36 of our experts last week, only 9 of them are selling him. Again, we'll cover this in greater detail a little bit later on. And Dye, the injured man, is being sold by about a quarter of his owners, just a bit more than that. So that's kind of interesting there. But given that he is so cheap, maybe some people can afford to just leave him on the bench for now whilst we wait for a better update on his injury status. But certainly it's not looking good for the next 2 weeks for him. Gordon, Isak are also on this list with their blank game week coming up in game week 29 pretty soon. And Joao Pedro and Sarr complete the list. One more note on Isak, of course, he's still going to be owned by 88% of experts. So a small decrease, but in the grand scheme of things, it is a very, very marginal difference here. Right, let's move on. And before we do, guys, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like on this video, it is massively appreciated. A lot of work goes into making these videos each week, gathering the data and manually inputting it all to try and create something useful for you guys. So likes are appreciated, and do subscribe, of course, if you want to follow along with the expert trends every single week and keep up with the expert moves, transfers, captains, all of that stuff. So now let's take a look at the transfers in. And yeah, first of all, there's a couple of managers on here. Glasner is on here, McKenna is on here, and Arteta is on here. We will come back to this because I want to talk about the players right now, and we'll do the managers a little bit later. But yes, Oliver Glasner is the #1 transfer target for experts this week, with 24, almost a quarter of experts opting to bring him in this week. But let's talk about these players. Cunha, 15 transfers in for him, and considering he was only owned by one of our experts last week, that is a serious increase in ownership for the Brazilian man from Wolverhampton Wanderers. So I think he is going to be a player that slowly becomes more trendy. He is going to be a player, I think, over the next couple of weeks, we will see his ownership increase. But for right now, we see a lot of our experts trying to go early on the Cunha train. We've got Dango here as well as the new hype guy. A lot of our experts already owned Kluivert, so some may be looking to double up, some may be choosing Kluivert over Dango, or, you know, one or the other, or both. Lots of different combinations there at play, but our experts love these cheap Bournemouth midfielders, and so should you. They're looking really, really hot right now, and a nice fixture against Wolves is going to be another opportunity for them. But Dango slightly more popular this week, but I suspect that is due to the fact that less people own him, so there's more opportunity to go for him. We've got Nwaneri with 4 new transfers in for him, which is super, super interesting there. His ownership is going to double ahead of game week 26, and Wissa, Marmoush and Mbermo complete this list of new players to bring in. I did mention that our experts aren't as keen on Marmoush as maybe the overall player base. Only 3 transfers in out of the 100 experts. There's nothing super crazy or anything like that. He's still going to be a differential player for you guys if you do want to bring him in, but there is at least a little bit of interest in him. But as it would seem, the experts seem to be looking elsewhere with their transfers primarily. Let's go through the expert template. First of all, I am recording this video before the Aston Villa versus Liverpool game, but the current average score before that game among our experts is 55.7 points. Were you beating that before the game? Maybe you don't remember, because that game has probably been played by the time you watch this video. But the average current rank is up again, up to 255k. So a green arrow overall for the experts before that Aston Villa Liverpool game. And I expect that will go up even more by the time we finish this game week. And I think next week, we might even see the average expert rank inside the top 200k. Slowly creeping up. Chip season, we've got to get it into the top 100k for the average. Of course, 87% of experts are in the top 1 million. So if you want to be an expert, you know, top 1 million is kind of where you need to be right now. 36% in the top 100k and 5% in the top 10k. So let me know, guys. Are you competing with the experts? Are you beating them? Are you losing to them? Do you think you can catch up with them? Love to hear from you guys. Not too much change in the expert template, to be totally honest with you guys this week, because I think a lot of the transfers are focused around managers more than anything this week. So all of the goalkeepers, all of the defenders, no change from last week. Salah and Palmer, no change again. Both 100% owned still. I know some people have been disappointed with Palmer, but none of our experts are going to be selling him. Small increase for Mbermo. We've seen a decrease to Rodgers, and Cliver is up 9% as well. But all three players remain in the expert template. Isak and Wood also remain in the expert template with not really too much change there. However, with the injury to Cody Gakpo and a lot of sales for him, Johan Wissa has finally entered the FPL Expert template, now up to 43% selected among the top managers. So that's what the template looks like. Let's suggest some transfers. So not too much to say about combo transfers this week because so many of our experts are just making one transfer rather than two. But if you did need to maybe free up some money for Cliver, downgrading Slot to Glasner could maybe work. Alternatively, if you wanted to go Emery to Arteta, maybe downgrading Ahmad to someone like Dango or Nwaneri could do the trick. And of course, if you want to upgrade and die the injured man to Acuna, for example, then downgrading Ahmad to Nwaneri might do that job. The direct transfers are a little more interesting. First of all, if you've got Slot or Emery, going for Glasner or McKenna is probably going to be the most popular moves this week. Of course, if you have Gakpo and you do want to remove him, Cunha seems to be the obvious replacement. The Ahmad replacements are really Dango, Cliver, and Nwaneri, so it depends which one you prefer. The experts seem to own Cliver the most, but there's more hype around Dango this week with Nwaneri, kind of the third option there. So one of those guys is going to work really well. And if you don't fancy Rodgers, I know he has been short of points and maybe short of some luck as well, then you could potentially move him on to one of the midfielders we mentioned just there as well. Captains is super split this week, and I'd love to hear from you guys who you are thinking of captaining this week. Are you going to go for something a little bit different? Because even though Salah still leads the stats with 73% captaincy rate among experts, we are seeing some other options pop up here as well, given that Salah does have a tricky fixture away against Man City. Although, to be honest, Salah is just inevitable right now, and even at City, he seems to do the business every time he goes to that stadium. Mbermo is in here at 8% against Leicester. We also see Cliver with 6% against Wolves, Isak 4% against Nottingham Forest, Dango and Wissa against Wolves and Leicester respectively are both on 3%, and we have Nwaneri, Watkins and Semenyo as the three final 1% men who aren't trends. So, you know, if it's not a trend, then we probably can't recommend these captains based on no trend. It's just individuals going for something a little bit different. But certainly Salah, if you want to go elsewhere, Mbermo and Cliver and Isak probably look like the three best picks there. Isak doesn't have the fixture necessarily, but he is a top player. Mbermo and Cliver, the penalty-taking extraordinaires, can maybe stat pad against some of these weaker opposition. So could be really interesting this week. And definitely, if you are struggling maybe with rank at the moment, you are a little bit lower ranked and you want to go for something different this week, I think we do have an opportunity to do that because Salah, 73%, yes, it is high, but it's not like the usual, like, 1,000,000% that we see on Salah each and every week, is it? So this is a good opportunity to bet against Salah, I think, with an Mbermo, with a Cliver, with an Isak. If you are comfortable doing that, if you want to push up the table, if you are competing in mini leagues, you know you're kind of at a disadvantage right now, I want to try and make something special happen. This is the kind of week that I would go for here, and it seems that our experts do agree. What they don't agree on is who is the alternative player, as we do see the rest of the captaincy split so evenly between so many other players. So I'll leave that one with you guys. I'd be super interested to hear from anyone who is not captaining Salah, and just let me know if you feel confident about it as well, because really interesting week for captaincy, even though Salah is doing his best to ruin captaincy for the entire season. Okay, let's talk manager business. Yes, indeed. And I thought this was probably the best way to lay it out on screen for you this way, guys, so you can get an idea of who are going to be the most managers in the experts this week. So of course 82% of our experts currently have their assistant manager active. I think most of them, around 90% of those managers, activated it in game week 24, with a few more in 25. There are no new assistant manager activators this week among our experts. But interestingly, despite a -9 change, 9 transfers out for Emery, he is still still going to be the most managed manager in the world of FPL Experts. And he's going to be at 27%. So against Chelsea, I think because of Chelsea's poor form, a lot of the experts are just saying, Emery, you know, Aston Villa, they can definitely get a result against Chelsea, given the poor form that Chelsea have been in recently. Alternatively, we have the slot situation, and he's dropped into third. So even though we still will have 11 of our experts, so, you know, 10-15% of our experts will have Slot as their assistant manager, really, that is a big decrease in comparison. We started off the game week 25, where more experts had Slot than Emery, but it's gone the complete different way now. So if you do have Slot, maybe there is much more temptation to sell him than when you have Emery. So I think to kind of simplify that, if you have Slot, the experts are suggesting that you should sell Slot. If you have Emery, the experts are suggesting that maybe it's actually fine to keep him. So it might be more that Slot owners are the guys making the manager transfers rather than the Emery owners. But that's not to say you have to do it that way. You can still keep Slot. You can still sell Emery if you want to. But I'm just kind of trying to give an idea on the trends. In fact, Slot has dropped down so much that Oliver Glasner has leapfrogged him from 0% managers selected last game week all the way up to 24% this week. So he is by far the most popular transfer in terms of those managers. And that is largely dependent on Aston Villa not beating Liverpool tonight. Of course, I don't know what that result is at time of recording. If Aston Villa draw or lose to Liverpool, then Glasner is going to get table bonus when he plays against Fulham, where Crystal Palace play against Fulham. So even though Crystal Palace not in the best shape, Fulham doing pretty well right now, there is a huge opportunity for table bonus for Crystal Palace against Fulham as long as Aston Villa don't beat Liverpool tonight. So a lot of that might go out the window, and I'm sorry if it has, but we got to pre-record some videos, even if it's just a couple of hours ahead of time. The football world moves very fast, and I can only apologise for that. But outside of that, we do have Kieran McKenna here. 9 transfers in for him. He plays against Spurs and will be eligible for table bonus. So another opportunity to try and get some table bonus. We know Ipswich did get the result against Spurs last time around, but I do worry a bit about Spurs and their returning players. So a little bit risky, but could pay dividends with the table bonus. Arteta is not going to be eligible for table bonus against West Ham, but a home fixture gives us the best odds for a win, best odds for a clean sheet among all assistant managers this game week. There are a couple of other not really trends kind of managers here. 2 people going for Pereira at Wolves for the table bonus, 1 person going for Southampton against Brighton for the table bonus, and also 1 person going for Van Nistelrooy for Leicester against Brentford. Again, maybe looking for some of that table bonus. So yeah, we got a few risk takers here, a few people playing it safe with Arteta, but it seems mostly people are going for table bonus with Glasner, with McKenna, with Pereira, with Juric, with Van Nistelrooy. So that seems to be the trend. Go for table bonus this week if you are making a manager transfer this week. And I hope that kind of helps you out. I can't really delve into all of the details in this video of, you know, the various matchups, because this video is not about my opinions. It is about what the experts are doing and looking at that data and kind of seeing if we can get anything from that. But I think this is super useful. So remember, guys, if you have Emery, it's fine to keep him. If you have Slot, you might be more inclined to sell him. And if you do sell him, provided that Aston Villa didn't beat Liverpool, I guess, in past tense, then you can go for Glasner as your assistant manager. But there are some other options. McKenna, Arteta are the main 2 there. So there we go, guys. Those are the assistant manager trends. Those are all of the players and people and experts we're going to talk about today. And yeah, let me know if there are any questions or comments about what you saw in today's video. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching. Drop a like before you go. Subscribe. Check out another video uploaded by Cellkeeper Void yesterday, so it might be a good one to watch. And I will see you tomorrow for yet another video. See you later, mates. Bye-bye.